So we're getting both arrays. So we've got both at 25 dB gain, and we've got the A58 in the middle in here, which is the second order 8-channel thermosonic microphone. So that's capturing everything. And then we've got the spaced array. So there's left and right at the front, left surround, right surround at the back, left height, front, right height front, rear left height, and right back height. So you've got 4 angled essentially. The ear level ones are getting the surround that will go into the left and right surround speakers. And the height speakers are going to get fed directly with the ones that are angled upwards. So these are APE, acoustic pressure equalizer microphone in the spaced array, and they give you some directionality, but also behave like omni, so you should get a huge bottom end. And I'm just going to leave it running for a little while. We've got some birds singing. We've got a train track right in front where trains will pass across. We've got Stansted Airport behind us, so you'll get some airplane action as well. Plus the bird song, and there are some red kites in the sky, who make a bit of noise now and again. It's a beautiful day. I'll leave it running and we'll capture some interesting audio. there's a good few minutes of recording. That should give you an idea of the difference in sound between the two capture methods. I'm interested to see how the noise floor compares. So the spaced array omnis are quieter as a general rule, and they'll have more low frequency extension. If I talk into each mic individually, I don't know if that'll be a good test really. The spaced array, you really want to be further away from it than this kind of distance, because the way that these two front microphones are pointing really quite far left and right, you have to be fairly far back before that hole in the middle gets filled up, I would assume. But the ambisonic mic will be able to deal with me much more close up. It's got coincident capsules, so the 8 capsules in the A-Type 8 are as close together as I can get them, essentially. And the spaced array are much wider apart. And there's a fair bit of wind today, so we'll see how well this wind, the Rycote Windjammer furs, deal with the wind. What you can also do is adjust the angle of the upper mics. At the moment they're at about 45 degrees, and the horizontal layer are pointing directly outwards from the centre, so they're at sort of ear level, and the idea is the left and right speakers, when you're listening, will be at ear level. Each mic feeds a loudspeaker directly, but you can adjust the angle of the upper microphones, so I'm going to try and point them a bit more up just to see how that sounds. Do we get much more separation between the height channels and the lower layer? That probably got very loud because I was right on that mic, but I'm doing this an arbitrary amount, but a bit more vertical, so they'll be getting whatever's happening up in the sky, which at this point is birds flying over. There was a helicopter came over behind a minute ago. The aeroplanes are upstairs, and the lower layer should get the train moving across quite nicely at this sort of distance. So I'm interested to see how it sounds. We'll take it back to the listening room in a moment and see what the difference is. Obviously the downside of the spaced array is it's much more complicated really. It takes a lot longer to set up, and there's more bits to carry around with you. The A-Type 8 in that cyclone windshield is much more compact and easier to transport and much quicker to set up, but the difference in sound is what I'm interested in, whether it's worth the extra effort to go the spaced array route. And we'll do a little bit more recording with that slightly more angle on the height channels, so they're pointing more up at the sky, and here comes the train. So you can see there is a bit of movement in the arms of the array. I think it's this stand, which is not the best carbon fibre stand. It has a bit of twist in it, you can see there. So the wind is moving the array. Whether that will be audible or not remains to be seen, but I think a sturdier, more expensive stand would probably do a better job of keeping it stiffer. The arms themselves are 10mm carbon fibre with 3/8 of an inch threads on either end, so they're lightweight and very stiff and strong, and seem to be doing their job quite well, but the stand itself is a bit flimsy, I think. Now, listening with my own ears to what I'm hearing in this place, I'm trying to remember what that sounds like and then compare it to the recordings when we get back to the lab. So I'm going to have a little close-up look at the array so you can see what's going on. So we've got a Rycote INV7HG shock mount on each one, carbon fibre arm with 2 bits of Velcro to keep the cable tidy. That's a Manfrotto Dado ball in the middle, which can be set up in various different ways. If you were recording an orchestra, for example, you might want to get the array much higher up and use these angled down to get more separation between the height and the lower layer. And in a traditional kind of decker tree style, you might be more like 10 feet up in the air. And in that case, you'd need to use these lower holes to get the lower lower layer pointing downwards at the front row of the orchestra. That's kind of where the inspiration for these mics came from, to a degree. The M50 Neumann microphone, which has been used for 70 years on orchestral recordings in decker trees. They are a perspex ball with the capsule set into it inside the microphone, and that is the inspiration for this mic. If I can get it off while holding a phone, and there it is. So that's the omnidirectional microphone capsule in the middle there, and then you've got a 60mm perspex ball, acrylic ball, with the mic capsule set into it. The idea being that sound waves above a certain frequency will be reflected off the back of the ball and the sides, but below a certain cutoff frequency, they will diffract around the ball quite happily. So this one has got no wind shielding now. There's probably a mess of a sound. I'm probably being picked up on the A-Type 8 mic fairly clearly already. So that's a BBG Rycote again windshield, and I've got a bunch of heat shrink on the XLR so that it clips into the mount nicely. So that's shock mounted on these little rubber guys here, and windshielded by the BBG. And that's about it. It plugs into a 8-way snake cable that comes down and breaks out into 8 XLRs. I'm recording with a Zoom F8 today. I've got 2 Zoom F8s here. The A-Type 8 has a similar kind of cable. I was going to bring my Mix-Pre sound devices recorder, but I've had lots of trouble with it recently. So I find Zoom are a bit more solid and reliable, really. So there it is. We've got 2 great sounding mic arrays, but different. How you describe the differences would be quite interesting to me. Spaced arrays are described as being spacious sounding, which kind of makes sense. But in a reverberant, diffuse environment, they'll capture the reverb of a room better. So this might not be the perfect situation for them, but it'll be interesting to see how they sound. So that's it for me.